So you started your weight loss journey a couple of months ago. Everything was going fine, but somehow now you have stopped losing weight. What is happening? You're doing everything right, you're working out, you're eating properly, but you're not losing weight. And this is what is called a plateau. This is what is called a weight loss plateau. When you're doing everything right, but for some reason you're not losing weight. And so in this video, we're going to talk about how you got here, and then I'm going to give you 2 ways that you can break through this plateau and start losing weight again. So what exactly is a weight loss plateau? A weight loss plateau is where you stop losing weight even though you're doing everything right? A couple of months ago, when you started your weight loss journey, you were also exercising, you were also burning calories, you were eating properly, and then you lost weight. But right now, it's not happening. This is known as a weight loss plateau. No matter what you do, months go by and you just aren't seeing the results, right? And so how did you get here? How did you get to this point where your body just isn't losing weight anymore? And the answer is within the numbers, right? When we look at the numbers, right, I want you to really focus on what I'm trying to tell you now, right? Here's the thing. Back in the day, when you weighed more, right, let's say you weighed about 110 kilos and your maintenance calories were about 5,000, right? Back in the day, you weighed 110 kilos or any weight that you were on, and your maintenance calories, which means that the number of calories that you were eating in order to stay in that weight category, is called your maintenance calories. And so your maintenance calories, let's say, was 5,000. And then you decide to lose weight. When you decide to lose weight, you start doing cardio and you also start to eat properly. So when you combine all those things, you got into a calorie deficit. When you got into a calorie deficit, let's say the 5,000 calories that you were on maintenance, now when you add in some cardio, when you add in some eating, then let's say we brought that number down to 4,000. And so that way you started to lose weight simply because you are now in a calorie deficit. Now, let's say 4 months go by and you lose a good amount of weight. But now what's happening? Now, since you have lost all that weight, this means that now your maintenance calories is lower. When you were heavy, your maintenance calories was 5,000. Now that you have lost a good amount of weight, now your maintenance calories are lower, maybe about, let's say, 3,500, right? So now, if you do the same amount of cardio and you do the same amount of, you have the same amount of diet, you're not going to burn calories. You're not going to be in a calorie deficit simply because now that you are much smaller, you require 3,500 calories to stay at that weight. Whereas back in the day, you needed 5,000 calories. So you see, the answer is in the numbers. It lies in the numbers. Back in the day, 5,000 calories was your maintenance value. And when you added a few cardio sessions and you made a little bit of changes in your diet, you became in a calorie deficit. You got into a calorie deficit state. But right now, since you are a lot smaller than before, your maintenance calories are only 3,500, right? And so now the same thing that worked before isn't going to work again. Because again, in order to lose weight, it doesn't matter how much less you eat. What matters is that you are in a calorie deficit. Like you are burning more. For example, somebody who weighs about, let's say, 50 kilos, right? If he's eating only 2,000 calories a day, he's not going to lose weight. Why? Because his calorie expenditure is also low. But the same person, if he is 100 kilos and then he eats 2,000 calories, he's probably going to lose a lot of weight, right? Because it's all in the numbers. He didn't require that many calories to just remain, just stay alive, right? So the answer is in the numbers. Like you want to make sure that you are in a calorie deficit. And so as you lose weight, you become smaller and smaller, your maintenance calories gets smaller and smaller. So this is the reason why you are not losing weight. By doing the same workouts, by having the same meal plan, it just will not work anymore because simply you are much smaller. Okay. Now, so how do we fix this? Now we figured out why you're not losing weight. Now let's talk about 2 ways that you can overcome this problem. All right. So tip number 1 is that you want to make sure that you are increasing your calorie output, which basically means, surprise, surprise, that you got to do more cardio. The same cardio that you were doing before, not going to work anymore. Because again, much smaller, need more work to create that calorie deficit. So you want to increase the amount of cardio. Now you could do that in a ton of ways, right? The first way you could do it is simply increase the cardio sessions per week. For example, if you're doing like about 3 cardio sessions per week, right? You were doing 3. Now that you are stuck in this weight loss plateau, maybe it's time to do 5. Maybe it's time to do 6 or 7, right? So increase the number of cardio sessions. That's the first way. The second thing you can do is increase the intensity. Instead of walking, start jogging. Instead of jogging, start running. Because the fact is that if you have been doing cardio for the past 3-4 months, you will have developed a good amount of stamina by now. And since you have this stamina, now you can, get your cardio to the next level. Start jogging, start running, right? Maybe do a little bit of HIIT cardio, get intense, right? So you're going to burn more calories. Third way you can do this is simply increase the time. You don't want to increase the intensity, completely fine. But instead of doing 30-minute walks, go for an entire hour. 1 hour of cardio 3 times a week, right? So again, you're increasing your calorie output. When you increase your calorie output, you burn fat. And then you will end this this weight loss plateau, and then you continue to lose weight. Why? Because you are now again in a calorie deficit. So this is the first way that you can do it, right? Now, tip number 2, we go to your calories input now. But before we get into that, let me talk about calorie output for one more second. It's a very interesting thing. I almost forgot to mention in this video. Here's the thing. Imagine 2 people, right? We've got 2 friends, both of them decide to lose weight. One weighs 110 kilos, the other weighs 90 kilos, right? Both of them, they get together, they go for a jog, right? They start at the same point and they start walking. They start walking for about half an hour with the same pace. So they've covered the same amount of distance. This was point A. They went from here to here, from point A to point B, at the same pace, at the same time. Who do you think would have burned the more calories? Who would have burned more calories out of the 2? Obviously, the guy who weighed more. Why? Because that guy had to do more work to bring his body from point A to point B. When you weigh 110 kilos, it is harder for you to go from here to here. And when you weigh 90 kilos, it's easier, simply because you weigh less, right? So the 110 kilo guy burned more calories. Now, think of it this way. The 2 guys weren't different at all. Both of them are you. The only difference is that the 110 kilo guy was you from the past. And now the 90 kilo guy is you in the present. So if you do the same amount of workout as you did when you were, in the beginning of your workout sessions, when you didn't lose weight, when you weighed 110 kilos or whatever number you were, if you're doing the same cardio right now, the pace is the same, the intensity is the same, the time is the same, the distance covered is the same, if everything is the same, you are actually burning less calories compared to before. Why? Because you weigh less now. And so in order to burn the same amount of calories that you were back in the day when you were heavy, you have to do something more. You have to either increase the sessions, increase the speed, increase the distance, do anything, make it more intense. And obviously, if you want to continue to lose even more weight, bring the intensity even up, make it even harder, right? So that is how you're going to lose weight. Now let's come to the second tip. The second tip is we're going to talk about the calories in part now, right? We're going to talk about the calories in part. Now, if you have been following this channel for quite some time now, you must know that I am absolutely against going on a diet which you do not like, right? I have been advocating this from day one, that if you want to lose weight, keep eating what you're eating, just make it less, Right? This is my solution for weight loss, because again, this is a permanent solution. You're still eating the foods that you love, you're just not eating enough of them, right? But then there comes a point where you start where you're at a point where you can't really burn any more calories because you're not in a calorie deficit state. If you're eating a diet that is full of fat and cheese, but you somehow manage to be in a deficit, that is good. You're all losing weight. But when you hit that weight loss plateau, now what are you going to do? I can't expect you to eat just this much amount of food and then, spend the rest of your life like that. It doesn't happen, right? So this point, when this happens, you gotta have to make some sacrifice. And this is where oatmeal comes into play. This is where vegetables come into play. Oatmeal and vegetables, I've talked about it in my previous videos, that oatmeal and vegetables, these two are superfoods for weight loss. They are absolutely perfect for weight loss because they have very few amount of calories in them. Oatmeal and vegetables have very low calories compared to the other foods. And with those low calories, they are also very, very high in fiber. And the reason why fiber is so good is that fiber literally, it goes down in your stomach and it sits there. It literally just sits there, and so you don't feel hungry. Compare that to a slice of cheese or anything that you love, eating pasta or a fried chicken or whatever. Compare that to vegetables, who are low in calories, and they also keep you full. Once the veggies are in there, they're not going anywhere for a very long time because they have a lot of fiber in them. So this is the second solution. If you cannot increase the amount of workout you're doing, you have to make sure that you're swapping your high calorie foods with vegetables and oatmeal. Again, these are two solutions, right? Now let's talk about something else. I'm going to give you my personal experience, right? Everyone experiences weight loss plateaus, and I have experienced it too. But here's the thing. You can either sacrifice on vegetables or you can sacrifice on your workout. I chose this one, right? Instead of making sure that I'm eating more and more vegetables every day, instead of doing that, I just increase my workouts. Like, I do an insane amount of cardio every week, right? Why? Because I love food. And I'm sure most of you too. Like, I don't really like to eat vegetables at all. I just, sometimes eat vegetables when I feel like it. But this is not something that I can include in my lifestyle, right? The workouts, I can include them. I can do 6 sessions of cardio per week. Not a big deal for me, right? So you have to pick something, right? You have to sacrifice somewhere. Either go with the vegetables or either go with the more cardio, right? But again, for best results, you want to just take a little bit from both, right? You want to do a little bit more cardio, eat a little bit of more vegetables, balance it up, right? So the final word for you in this video, the takeaway message from this video, is that weight loss plateaus happen because, again, when we look at the numbers, it is bound to happen. But in order to break through this plateau, in order to break through this weight loss plateau, you can do two things. Number one, you can increase your calorie output, right? By doing jogging, running, whatever, just increase it, right? And number two is obviously you're going to eat vegetables. Because again, there comes a time where you can't just, the thing that I always advocate for is that instead of eating this much, you got to eat this much. But what if you're already eating this much? You can't go here. It's not practical. So instead of lowering your food intake, eat the kind of foods that have lower calories, right? So add in vegetables, add in your oatmeal, and that is how you can break through this weight loss plateau, right? So two things: eat less and do more. Again, at the end of the day, it's all about eating less and doing more. But again, there are different ways of doing this, and it gets a little bit more complicated when you start, crashing and you start getting into these weight loss plateaus. But at the end of the day, you want to make sure that the calories in are always less than calories out, and that is how you're going to break through this weight loss plateau.